I wanted to try to give you guys a rundown of the visions that he's been showing me. And I want to start with this vision that I had several months ago that I meant to tell you guys about, but never did, and I feel bad because I can't remember the whole thing now. But it was a vision where he went and he stood at the southern border of the United States, and he was facing Mexico, and he stretched out his arms to the side, and his arms were straight, and his palms were facing Mexico, and his arms were like parallel to the ground. And then he kind of stood there for a while. I didn't know what that meant. And then I saw this crowd of people, and it seemed like it was in Mexico, but I'm not really sure. I just know it was like either Mexico or South America, or it was south of the United States somewhere. And there was this big crowd of people, and I feel really bad about this, you guys, because they were all moving in a certain direction, and I can't remember which direction they were moving in. I know that I knew which direction at the time I had the vision, but it was so long ago I can't remember, and I'm so sorry that I didn't write it down or tell you guys right away. But the whole crowd was moving in a certain direction. I just can't remember whether it was north or south. And he was above this crowd, and he was trying to comfort them, but they didn't see him and they weren't paying attention to him. And then they weren't paying attention to him, but he was so concerned about them that he actually became I don't know whether he was with this person or what, but there was this man laying on the ground next to this statue, and I'm not sure if he was the man or if he was just showing me that he was with this man. And actually, I don't even know if it was a man or a woman, but it seemed like a man, but I'm not really sure. But it seemed like a homeless person, and the homeless person was laying on the ground, like just completely beat. And the person was laying next to a statue or something, some kind of sculpture, and I'm not really sure. All I remember is seeing balloons. I don't know and I think it was balloons, and I'm not even sure about that. So it seemed like it was a sculpture or something of balloons. And then this huge wave came in from the northeast. And I do remember that because the man was laying and he was facing the east. He was laying under this sculpture or whatever it was, and he was facing the east, and then this huge wave came in from the northeast. Okay, so that I had several months ago. I also saw an object hitting the southwest United States. I saw an object come in from the north and hit the southwest United States. That was several months ago as well. I didn't tell you guys about that. And then this last week, or the last 2 weeks maybe, he showed me some different things. And I had 3 days in a row that he took me up above the earth, and what seemed kind of like maybe it represented the rapture. The first night I was praying, and his face was there, and he was smiling at me, and he was really happy, and he reached out his hands, and I took his hands, and he took me up above the earth. And there was a group of people there. And I think that I fell asleep that night early, and so I didn't see anything else. But then again, the next night when I prayed, he again did the same thing. He was smiling, and he he put out his hands for me to take them, and I took his hands, and he took me up above the earth. And there was a group of group of people up above the earth, and in space above the planet, and we were all facing him, and he was facing us, and I was in the back. And then he took me, or he kind of motioned for me to go up to look at from his view, and so I went up, and I looked down at all of us that were standing there, and all of our clothing became like white, or like light, kind of like light. And then I went back down, and I stood in my spot, and then he was in the front, but then he came to the back, and he was standing right behind me because I was in the very, very back. And then all the people in the front started moving into this place that I'm not sure what it was because I couldn't see it. There was nothing there. It just looked like empty space. But the people in the front were disappearing as they were going into this thing. And so when it came my turn, I went through this thing, and all of a sudden I was in this room, this large room, and we were all in there, and it just seemed like a normal room. I mean, like, I don't know. And then somebody came up, like, kind of behind me, or kind of like to my left, and kind of like behind me, and I turned around, and it was this little person, and the person handed me a folded clothing, some type of clothing, and it was folded very neatly. And then that was the end of that vision that night. And then the next night, on the third night, I had, and again, he took me up to this place, only this time we went into this room that looked like a dorm room, and it had a bed and a desk, and then there was this big window on one side of it, and I could see the earth below, the window went out to space, and then I could see the earth below that. And then he also took me into this other room that was like a wide open area, and I don't know, I'm not sure what that was, but it seemed like children were playing in there. And then that seemed like the 3-day series there, or something of something. And I was really happy. I was happy about that because he doesn't. I don't get to choose where he takes me. I just have to. I follow him, and then whatever it is he's going to show me, that's just what it is. And trust me, I don't. It's usually not stuff that I really even care about seeing. So I was pretty happy about that 3-day series there, and it was very encouraging for me. And then might have been this week or last week, I'm not sure. I had a vision where he took a pole, what seemed like a long pole, and he was holding the pole upright, and then he hit the ground with the bottom of the pole, and the pole bounced off the ground. And it seemed like he was at first I thought he was in Montana. But then, it seemed like he was standing in Montana but facing the south. And so it seemed like maybe he was hitting the pole in southern Montana. That was like my first thought, but I'm not really sure. I'm not really great with the geography of the United States, but I after thinking about it, I realized that maybe he was hitting Yellowstone because I'm pretty sure Yellowstone is in the northwestern corner of Wyoming. And so I don't know that he was hitting Yellowstone, but maybe he was because it seemed like he was in that area of the United States, and that was all he showed me. He's just hit the ground with a pole. And then on another night, I he took me to the middle of the United. Seemed like he was standing in the middle of the United States, and he was facing the east. And again, he outstretched his arms just like he did in that other vision several months ago. He outstretched his arms straight out to the side with his palms facing the east. And he was facing the east, and his palms were facing the east. And and um, and he just stood there, and that's all I saw. And I don't really know what it meant, but I wondered if he was trying to tell me that something. He was trying to show me the entire eastern half of the United States, something about that, but I don't know what it was. And then, and this is the really, really weird part, then he took this string or a rope or something, and he tried to show me like he connected it from that point where that position where he was standing in the middle of the United States. He took like a string or a rope from that point and pulled it over to Northern California, and then it went down a hole in Northern California. And I'm not. It seemed like it was Northern California, and he showed me something in Northern California before, like seemingly like maybe northeast of San Francisco or something, but I'm not really sure. But anyway, I don't really know, but that was really weird because he seemed to draw, or not draw, but he seemed to pull a line or a rope or something from that position in the middle of the United States over to Northern California and then down some hole there. And I have no idea what that is. And then I think it was last night, when I prayed, he took me, he had his arm around me, and he seemed like he took me over to, it seemed like we were in the northwest of the United States, and there was all this, it seemed like there was fire falling from the sky, and there was fires everywhere. And then, the reason he had his arm around me was because I was feeling really, really discouraged, and he was just comforting me. And so he'll sometimes do that because sometimes I'm just mentally really weak. And then, let's see. I think that's pretty much it of all the stuff that he's shown me in the last couple of weeks. Yeah, I can't remember anything else, so I'll just let you guys go. I hope you're doing well, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.